Hi friend, I hope you're doing well. Welcome back to Nick Pixel TV. Today we're just talking about some cameras and some gear. I had a couple questions that came in. I'm always getting these questions, whether it be in business or personal life, really what YouTube, what kind of cameras should I get started with? And I don't think that a lot of people have, like, if you're not in business doing this stuff, it's hard to spend $3, $4, $5. It's really hard to spend any amount of money right now, but $3, $4, $5, $10,000 on lenses and camera gear and everything else. If you're into weddings and you're making money with your gear, different story. But if you're really getting started, whether it be in business, you want to start a YouTube channel, you want to start doing some social media content, what are you going to start with? And I always recommend like the point and shoots and things like that, or just your iPhone, because iPhones do really well. A lot of this stuff is, let's just call it the processor in the phone, the AI, everything else is doing work to make this image look good with these lenses, because they can't cram as much in these as they can with a camera. But the cameras have always lacked behind on the processors and everything else to do the computing, I guess I would call it, right? A lot of this is computational photography, whereas a lot of this stuff is happening in cameras. So cameras are coming a long way. Of course, with the R5 Mark II, you have a second processor that helps you with, like, focusing in on picking up people and picking up cars and whatever you program it to. And I've bounced around between different cameras. I'm like a hybrid in between video and photos. So the R5 was great for me because it does a lot of things like really well, just not perfect in some areas. And of course, like camera conspiracies, Casey's like, I'm just searching for the perfect camera, right? And it's hard because they'll either cripple it, or there's something that's like, man, it's so close. Even the Lumix GH7 is so close. And I really like that camera, but I bounce around. So kind of like the tool for the application, the R5, the R5 Mark II are a great camera to do a little bit of everything really well, right? Just not perfect for video or just, the best in photography, whatever the case may be, but they are great cameras. I've spent a little bit more time with this camera. I can tell you one thing right off the bat on the R5 Mark II. If you don't buy the new batteries, the LP E6P batteries, and you still have the NH ones, the camera's about useless. So you might as well just get those right away. But now you're adding cost, ND filter, Rode microphone. I buy like Rode microphones for like all my gear, but once you accessorize it, you're talking even more money. So you could easily have $10,000 wrapped in a camera. So where do you start? Where do you start? And people ask about that. We've talked about some different lenses. If you're just getting rolling in YouTube, if you do have the money to spend, I really think the GH7 is a great starting point. This is the thing that Panasonic, and maybe I'm a little bit partial to Panasonic, but the way you can customize everything, and of course you can customize everything in the Canon if you're used to their menus, but the Lumix makes it like so easy to just get going. Throw a cage on it, a grip, whatever you want to do. You don't even need the grip. Throw a Rode microphone on it. This is the 9mm lens, ND filter, and it's lightweight. Boom, you're ready to rock and roll. Stability, stabilization, whatever you want to call it, is so awesome in this camera. All right, so it is getting dark out, but I wanted to kind of remake that video I did the other day where I flop on the GH7, pop it on, turn it on. It's not even the highest stability, but we're here just walking around the yard, and hopefully I'm probably 3/4 of the way extended, so hopefully it's not as wobbly as maybe like the R5 or whatever else. But I love this camera. You just throw it on and go. The one thing Panasonic was always missing was autofocus, and with the GH7 they've come such a long way. So if you're a manual shooter, you're okay because you can manually focus, whatever else. If you're locking off shots, you're gonna be fine with the GH6, GH5. I still have my GH5, 5S, all the ones in between it. I think I started with the GH3, God knows, 10 years ago. But this is probably one of my favorites. Still going to shoot good photos, decent photos. It's a good all-arounder as well. You got open gates, so think of being able to film horizontally, but then still be able to get your vertical videos in there. So you don't have to shoot something vertically for TikTok or YouTube Shorts and then film something horizontally. You can film it in an open gate, film it normally, center in the frame, and you have some latitude there to play around with your footage. This is probably, it's hard to beat right now. It is hard to beat. Now, I will say this. A couple options you can do. And of course, you have your point and shoots ZV-1. That's still a popular camera. People are still buying that. The prices come down on that kind of stuff. They have new models out on those, but it's really the use case. I will say this. This year, I really have enjoyed filming with the Pocket 3. The Pocket 3 in D-Log, if you're filming in D-Log and you can color grade, which is really easy to do for the most part. Even the average user, it shouldn't be scary. Like even in Final Cut or Adobe, you can bring in the LUT. This camera is really good, like right out of the box. It's hard to beat that gimbal. You're not going to really beat a gimbal unless you put a gimbal on your camera. I do have a gimbal that'll support the R5, R5 Mark II, Lumixes, stuff like that. But now you're talking another $1,000, $1,300, somewhere in that range for a good gimbal. This thing, although awkward to hold, it is, what would I say? It is a great camera. D-Log, that's what I'm having in right now. Turns on quick. You could press the button, go. You're going to have stable footage. So if you're looking for stability, I'd probably think something like this. And filmed in D-Log, you're going to get a little bit more of that dynamic range. So think of the highlights in the sky and being able to see the ground where the sky's still blue and not blown out, but you can still see the ground when it's darker or whatever the case may be. You're going to get a little bit more dynamic range if you film in D-Log with these, and you can really make your footage look good. Now, you're going to want to get an ND filter, and they do make ND filters for this, but then you lose that wide angle. So if you're vlogging yourself, you may want a little bit wider of an angle. You do get a little bit of a distortion, but if you're vlogging against yourself and you don't have this thing sitting far enough away from you and you want to capture what's behind you, you may want to slap on the wide angle lens that comes with it. And that is, let's see here. That's the end. So this is the one that comes with it, which is 0.75, 15 millimeter magnet mount right to it. Boom, you're good to go. Now, if you turn that off, you can lose this thing really easily because it could fall off. But if you do that, you're pretty much ready to rock and roll with the wide angle, and you'll get a little bit more wide angle shot there. Minimal, not horrible distortion, but you'll have that, but then you can't use the ND filter. So if you're filming in D-Log, you may want an ND. You could also take the wide angle off, just use the ND filter. This one is actually from DJI, and you can magnetic mount that on. Now you have ND filter. It's like sunglasses for your lens, right? And you can do that. Well, what happened is DJI didn't come out with it, so Freewell came out with it, and you can get this case. Now all this stuff's magnetic, so it's sticking to everything. But this little case here is about 140 bucks, 130 bucks, and you get your anamorphic, you get your wide angle, and you get 3 ND filters. You get the 8, the 32, and the 128. And then you can take your wide angle lens, pop your wide angle on here. So now you got your wide angle, and then you can take your ND filter of choice and magnet mount that onto it. It doesn't really stick out much past you're not gonna be able to turn it off. It'll still fall off. You want to take it off before you turn the camera off, but it's not much more depth than the original wide angle only. So they made these things super thin, and I know this is going to be hard to see, but they're literally super, probably the thickness of, like, I'd say maybe a nickel. So you have that option. So out of the box, if you buy the creator kit, you're going to get a nice little case. You get the DJI mic, which you can use, which I'm partial to the Rode microphones, so I do use the Rodes more than the DJI, and you're welcome to use either or. I always paint the DJI logo black because I don't like a lot of branding whenever I'm using something, or if it's like on a person or whatever when you're filming. But you get that, you get the extra battery grip. As you can see, with this thing without the battery grip is really small. It is awkward to hold or awkward to put on like a tripod if you want the tripod mount. It is kind of, I prefer holding a camera, even a point and shoot. Not really for the looks of it, it's just my preference. And I think a lot of people maybe like that. This is kind of, you want to, you know, make sure you don't bust this, and you could throw it in your pocket. It is great, but I do like having a camera. I think a little bit of the weight helps too with a camera from the stability part, but this is an option. And this is going to allow you to film. You can flip this vertically so you can see your vertical shot, hit continue, and you'll have your vertical video if you want. You can do your horizontal. You can do you know, vlog yourself, things like that. In D-Log, this is probably a great camera. Say your setup's under $1,000, right? This I like better than the phone, and then you probably start stepping into cameras, somewhere in that range. You're still shooting with this with a micro SD card, so if you have a lot of micro SD cards, you just got to get one that's fast enough. You got your 4K 60, 4K 30, stuff like that. You're gonna, you know, there's a million videos on specs on these, but this is something that I see a lot of businesses starting to grab, and YouTubers starting to grab, just for stability and a decent picture. So the color grading is a fairly simple process. We talked about the Lumix. I don't know. I think you start with your phone, get good with that, make videos, and then start upgrading. But if I was to choose a camera in 2024, that's a tough call. I mean, everything has its own benefits and drawbacks. I'm really a big fan of the GH7. I'm not going to lie. I really, really like this camera. You know, I'm going to have footage coming here in the next couple videos, and I'm bouncing around between this stuff all the time. You can match stuff up, make it look very similar. I mean, people use GoPros for vlogging, and they're stable. You got horizon locks, stuff like that on these cameras nowadays. It's great. It's just all in what you're looking for. I'm more of a hybrid video photo shooter, so in a pinch, if I'm just going somewhere and I just need to know that I can grab footage, I'm probably grabbing the R5. That's just me. I always will take the Osmos with me because it's small. That's a backup camera. But more and more, I've always been a Lumix guy, and I just feel like the camera that you're most comfortable with, and that could be what it is for me, and I've probably spent the same amount of time on both Canon and Lumix. I haven't made the jump to Sony yet. Now, I film with Sony cameras as they've started to get their touch screens and flip screens and everything else. I want to do that, but when you're invested in these lenses, I had people ask me about the 24-105. The lenses are like the most expensive part when you start getting in this stuff, so it's really hard for me to sell everything, and then by the time you sell everything, Canon will come out with something that's awesome, and it's like, well, I wish I didn't sell all my Canon lenses. So you're almost investing in multiple systems if you have multiple systems. You know, lenses that I like on the R5 body, of course, the 24-70 2.8. This is definitely probably spends the most amount of time on my camera. On the R5 Mark II right now, that's the 15-35 2.8. Great lens, great wide angle, stuff like that. There's also a 14-35, which it's an f4, but I feel there's good things about that as well if you're looking for size. The 24-105, I had a comment on that. I don't vlog with it a lot. I'm probably going to do a vlog video to help the one guy out that commented. The 24-105, it just it's compact, but when you go out to 105, of course, it's getting bigger and bigger. f4, it's not horrible. This kit lens comes with it. It's affordable. At 24 though, if you are going to try to vlog with the R5, which I don't think it's really made for that, but if you are going to vlog, the 24 is kind of a little bit too close, especially if you start turning on digital IS and stabilization and stuff like that. But this is a good lens, and it's going to take really good photos and really good videos, especially, locked off, everything else. You have your stabilization. Not too bad. So I do have this lens. I really like to get the 70-200, but I'm waiting to see what their Z series of lenses do, if they have them where they're not, where they're all enclosed, where it's just all in the lens, which that was like my favorite. I think it was 18-35 for the Lumix. That was probably my favorite lens, but I don't know. I just wanted to make a video today to talk about some of the stuff that I'm running right now currently. I still have a lot of my older cameras. It's very hard to beat the GH7 right now. You get a good picture right off the bat. It's lightweight. It's easy to carry. The autofocus nails it now. This is what they were missing. Full size HDMI, tally light, record button on the front. I mean, the custom buttons right here, you just swap. I have mine set for like slow motion. Right now it's in 4:2, 30 frames. I can just switch a button, boom, I got my log there. I got 60 frames a second, 120 frames a second. And you could do that with other cameras, but just the way their menus are set up. I actually like a flip-up camera, but this is a great all-arounder right here. I'm just telling you that for ease of filming and just boom, on, you're going to be in good focus now. The more I hold this, this is my favorite camera. But anyway, we're gonna throw this back down. I don't really know if this was helpful or not. I just thought while I was dumping footage, talk about a couple things. I'd say your phone, start with the Osmo Pocket 3. If you're into cameras, maybe take a look at that. I think that's a great option. The R5, I got to spend more time with before I'd say like a review. People know these cameras and they perform really well. Canon kind of lags behind. I would say they're more of the, they're not the latest and greatest. They'll perfect something and then it'll come out. Whereas they're not really like the, hey, let's innovate something brand new. At least recently in the last couple cameras, Sony has really pushed the wagon on that one. If you do buy the R5 Mark II, good luck taking off the camera cap to throw your microphones on. You kind of got to push down, pull back, and flip this up. I didn't have as much problem with it as people made it seem on YouTube, but I don't know if I'm worried about the electronic camera cap. To me, it is what it is. But most of the time, a Rode microphone or something's living on the top of there. So those are some options. Hopefully this was helpful in some way to you if you're thinking about camera gear. I'll try to put in some of my upcoming videos what the shot is. Maybe I'll bury it in the corner, like what camera I'm using. But the 9mm on the Lumix GH7 is like a great all-around vlog setup, and I really think that that's an option people should consider, especially at the price point. You're like half the price, right? Anyway, I know I was all over the place in this video. I hope you had a beautiful day, a beautiful Saturday afternoon. I'm going to spend some time out here, just finish up a few things. We got a lot of projects on the table right now, but I hope to see you in the next Pixel, and YouTube will probably show you another video that you may like and enjoy, and I hope you take the moment to hit the subscribe and leave a comment. Take care. Have a great day.